Welcome to week 3 of our Kingdom Chats. Great to see you again. Well, not see you, but great for you to see us and hear us.
It's great for you to see us. That's how we like to welcome people to our home. It's great for you to see us.
Yeah, be blessed, everybody. Welcome to Kingdom Chats, and obviously a space where we get to talk about living out the kingdom together. So we're excited to do week 3.
We are indeed. So our first 2 weeks, we've set a bit of a foundation. We talked about what is the kingdom, and then the sense that culture clash, that living out the culture of the kingdom is actually going to clash with the culture of the world around us. Yeah. So if you didn't listen to those yet, I would highly encourage you, go back and have a listen, because those two are sort of just the foundation of the whole thing. Yeah. Because this week we're going to start diving into some specific elements of what does kingdom culture look like and how do we practically live that out.
Yeah, this will be good.
Yeah. Last week we talked about that culture clash, like I said, and we highlighted at the end that to live out kingdom culture in this world, we have to really be committed to that and know what it is. Yeah. We have to hold to that. We talked about that example of like swimming upstream. So we want to really explore and dig deep in what does kingdom culture look like, and how do we as kingdom people, as kingdom families, live that out in our everyday lives. Exactly. So we're going to start exploring that this week. And the first sort of block, we're going to do this for quite a few weeks, probably a couple of months, is we want to look at what does kingdom community look like? In this kingdom culture, what does community look like? How do we relate to each other? Basically say, what does it look like for us to relate to each other in the kingdom? So we're going to dive into that and explore it over as many weeks as it takes. Yeah. So it's going to be good.
And to start us off as our foundation for kingdom community, we're going to look at a passage from Acts 2, which talks specifically about community in the very, very beginning of the early church, which we believe is a great place to look right after Jesus came and shared the message of the kingdom of heaven. He left his disciples and they started the early church. So
that's right.
We're going to use that as our model.
It is a great model because Jesus literally came, he preached the kingdom. He prayed that prayer in John 17 we looked at last week, and he was like, now you guys go and do it. And this is what flowed out. This is like the first thing that came out of it. So it's like a really good, like it hadn't been broken yet.
Not yet.
It was like just a really fresh expression of that.
Absolutely.
So do you want to read that for us, Kai? This is read that. Acts 2 verses 42 to 47, which we will explore, not all of it today, but each week we're just going to look at a different element of this.
Fantastic. So starting at 42, and they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favour with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved.
That's so cool. What an amazing picture of life that is. It's like, I want that to be how our life
Absolutely.
is
it sounds
described.
Amazing.
Yeah, how our community is described. Well, we're just going to pick one piece each week to explore from that. I reckon this week, let's go to the very beginning. It says they devoted themselves to 4 things. It says devoted to the apostles' teaching, fellowship, the breaking of bread, and the prayers. Yeah. Let's focus on fellowship there, because that's sort of the key of what we're talking about.
That's it. Community.
Fellowship. Yeah, fellowship's such a Christian word, isn't it?
It is. Like, what does it actually even mean, Let's not dive into that right now, but we use it all the time. Oh, it's great to have fellowship together.
I can just picture my grandpa would always say, he was a pastor, he'd always say, fellowship is more than 2 fellows in the same ship.
I love that.
I don't really know what that means. But it's actually the key of what we're talking about. Was like they were saying, what is this sense of fellowship? It is such a Christianese word, but to me, it talks about community and connection. But there's like a depth to it. There's like an authenticity to it. We're not just hanging out. We're actually connecting and forming deep, authentic relationships. I don't know what the Greek word for fellowship is, or I haven't looked up in the dictionary, but that's just my like natural feeling for if people use that word in our language today.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think of, it's, you go to church and then it was always described as after the service, you would stay for fellowship. So there's this sense that you go to church
thing, isn't it?
You listen to the message, and then fellowship is that time afterwards where you're actually connecting to one another. You're hearing about life. You're talking to each other about things that are happening. So there's a sense of, you're right, deeper connection, not just sitting with someone doing the same thing, but actually connecting with them. And I like here in this passage, we're talking that those first few things they said they were devoted to them, devoted to fellowship. So that, like we were talking about last week, it's a deliberate choice. It's something that they're committed to. It's not just like, if I happen to go to church this weekend, I will do fellowship, or if I
will do the fellowship.
I will do the fellowshipping.
Yes.
But it's actually a deliberate choice. It's like, I'm devoting myself to this and saying this is a priority, this is a value, and so I'm going to go and build connection, community.
Yeah, that's good. It's a value choice, isn't it? It's saying this is our value. We're committing ourselves to this. You look at people's lives and you can see the things that they are devoted to.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking now an example of that. You could look at people and determine whether they are devoted to fitness or not. There are probably. Yes. Why do you laugh?
In this frame, who's more devoted to exercise?
Look, if you're feeling convicted, that wasn't my intention. That's just the Holy Spirit working on you. But there would be very few people who would say, I don't want to be fit.
Yes,
I don't want to be healthy. But you can look at them. You might be able to just look at them on the outside and tell, or you could follow them for a day or follow them for a week, and you could then tell which ones are devoted to fitness, which ones are devoted to health, and which ones are not.
Yeah.
I think fellowship is like that.
Yeah.
Let's say instead of fellowship, let's say authentic community.
Yeah.
There would be
I like that.
there would be hardly anyone in the world who would say I'm against that.
Yeah.
But even in the church, in the kingdom context, there would be very few people who would say, I don't want to form deep, authentic relationships. I don't want to have good community central to my life. That's not what people say. But if you follow them for a day or follow them for a week or look at the outflow of their life, then you find, which ones are the ones who are devoted to it, who are committed to this and say, this is a value and I am committed that my life is going to be built around strong Christian kingdom fellowship, strong kingdom, authentic relationship and community.
Yeah.
That will be how I live my life.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about, if we're talking about, if we were to follow someone, what would it look like for their life to show that they were devoted to authentic community? And I think in this passage it talks about daily they're attending the temple, daily they're together, daily they're breaking bread in homes. That's not saying, on Sundays for 2 hours, I do the fellowshipping, I do authentic community, for 1 hour a week I go to a community group and do my community things. That they're talking about a daily exercise. Now, I'm not saying we should all go out and do daily, but I'm also not saying we shouldn't. Yeah. There's a sense of...
Exactly, yeah.
They were committed to it. They were devoted to it. If we were to follow one of them around for a day, that would show us by their actions that they were devoted to authentic community and doing life alongside others.
Exactly. The same way if you followed someone around who was devoted to their health or devoted to fitness, you would see that it was a priority. It was a value, and they would make it happen. They would make it a priority, even when it was inconvenient. Yeah. Even when it didn't really fit, it would trump other stuff in their calendar. It would trump other things. Maybe there's other things that they would leave out of their life because they're going to choose this instead. That's what you would see with the early believers around community, around fellowship, authentic community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to leave you with that challenge. Look at your life, and firstly, I'd say, if someone came and followed you for a day or followed you for a week, would they say, these people are devoted to authentic community?
What a challenge.
This family is devoted to really doing life in community with other kingdom people. Or would they say, they do it when it's convenient. Yeah. They do it when it fits.
Yeah.
And then look at your life and say, what would it look like for us to actually do that? You know, if we wanted someone to follow us around and say, these guys are devoted to community, what are the things that they would notice? What are the things that they would see? And how do we build those into our lives? How do we value it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want anyone to look at my life and say, wow, she's devoted to her phone. Wow, she's devoted to Netflix. She's devoted to keeping up with that show that she watches.
Yeah.
No, I want them to say,
that's really good.
I'm devoted to my community, my people.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll leave you with that challenge.
Yeah, that's a good challenge. That's good. Yeah, be blessed, guys. We'll see you next week.